against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covering news, culture, medic warfare. We'll be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched Bitcoin daily live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin. Pretty crazy. We broke all-time highs. That's right. That means Satoshi, the Bitcoin chicken, gets to cluck like he clucks. For any new members of Simply Bitcoin, back in the Simply Bitcoin OG days, in the last bull market where Simply Bitcoin was born, we would have this rubber chicken, and he would cluck every time the price of Bitcoin makes all-time highs, and that's exactly what happened. We're sitting pretty at $72,372. But I mean, things are just getting started. We had this viral clip of Larry Fink, the man that said that Bitcoin is nothing more than, an index of money laundering, the CEO and chairman of the world's largest asset manager. And of course, I'm talking about BlackRock, going on CNBC and talking the Bitcoin ethos, talking, the benefits of Bitcoin. You would have never have thought of that. And all of this morning, we've been, by the way, you guys should follow Simply Bitcoin's Twitter account. We're posting all this breaking news. CNBC, the legacy financial media, it's almost as if they turned into a Bitcoin channel, because you had, the current Republican nominee for president, Donald Trump, talking about Bitcoin. You had Michael Saylor talking about Bitcoin. You had Larry Fink talking about Bitcoin earlier on this week. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to talk about it when this thing's sitting pretty at $72,372. And more importantly, Michael Saylor's strategy is working. And it's not only the legacy, TV media that's kind of changing tune. We had, I would say, a historic article coming out of the Financial Times. Financial Times, that's legacy fiat media, basically admitting that, the Bitcoin bulls might not necessarily be the fools in the room, right? So we're literally going to read you that article because, in a way, it's a form of vindication, right? Because we've been made fun of, we've been called psychopaths, we've been called crazy, I'm sure not only by friends and family, but by the legacy establishment, right? Legacy establishment, the media and the government and all these establishment players have been calling us kooks, they've been calling us crazy. And when Bitcoin makes an all-time high, it once again proves that this thing isn't a bubble, that this thing is truly going up forever. We're in uncharted territory. Never in Bitcoin's history has Bitcoin made an all-time high before the halving, and never in Bitcoin's history did Bitcoin's all-time low break Bitcoin's previous all-time high. So no one knows where this is going. Absolutely no one. You're tuning into whatever content you're consuming. No one has no clue where this is going. The only thing that you guys should know and should be on the top of mind, right, is that Michael Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin. BlackRock keeps buying Bitcoin at a record pace. And around the corner, literally next month, exactly like a month from now, the halving is coming. And once again, the amount of Bitcoin being sold, the natural seller of Bitcoin on a daily basis is going to get cut in half from 900 Bitcoin to 450 Bitcoin. But the demand is going to stay exactly the same. What do you think is going to happen to price, right? So this is very, very exciting times. And of course, we are Simply Bitcoin. So we're going to lay out all the data for you guys and everything. But before we jump into the show, I want to bring up my legendary co-host, always optimistic. I caught him on a smile today. What shirt is that, bro? Conservative, progressive, libertarian, Bitcoiner. I love that. Damn, bro.
Shouts out to, really, this was Russell Okong's shirt. He made it like 2 years ago or something, but his store went down. So then the free market did its thing, and a few people printed it up after I put it on Twitter last week. And so I got this at orangelabel.co. Go get it for yourself, guys. I think this is a lit shirt. This is exactly our sentiment here at Simply Bitcoin. And man, what a crazy morning. First of all, my energy's a little low today. I guess there was like a time change and I lost an hour and I wasn't aware of this.
Is that what it is? We lost
think that's
an hour?
what it is. I feel like I'm not as hyped up as.
Does Bitcoin fix this?
Yeah. Daylight savings times or time changes are a fiat scam. I don't know why we do this, but yeah, apparently I lost an hour of sleep. I'm still not fully jacked up. I drank a lot of coffee and everything this morning, and I'm just like, I was talking with the Twitter team right now. I'm like, man, what's going on? I feel tired today. I thought it was just the Mondays, but no, apparently we lost an hour. Anyways, enough of my woes here.
They're stealing our money. They're stealing our time, bro. This fiat just, oh man.
Yeah. Anyways. Also, we woke up to 72K this morning. Let's go. We're in price discovery mode. This is awesome. I got a few family texts. Everyone's excited, and it really feels like FOMO, or the retail FOMO, hasn't even kicked in yet. And like we're at all-time highs and no one's even talking about it. It's like, all right, man, I guess this year is going to be a crazy, crazy year. If we do the math also, like Adam Back might be right. We might get 100K by halving day.
Have you seen how hyped Vikingo is, bro?
Yo,
he's posting 3D he's
like, he's not staying humble. He's like
AI,
I'm not
images every time, which is absolutely hilarious.
Anyways,
we do have a recommendation from the audience, which is simply Bitcoin should just refuse to switch to daylight saving. It's funny that you say that, because when I scheduled the show, I was like, wait, why is this thing set at like 1:15 p.m.? Like, what's going on? So I think we tried to do it, not on purpose, but anyways, I did get a bit confused. Because like, dude, I set this at 12:15, but they stole an hour from us. The racket.
Anyways, we do have a guest.
We do have a guest, Eric. We just saw each other in Portugal in Madeira, in the flesh, in person. And I was like, dude, you should come on the show. He's like, bro, I'm scheduled to come on the show. And I was like, oh, crap. This is going to be epic. This is going to be awesome. So how you doing, Eric? Welcome to Simply Bitcoin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm fucking pumped, dude. This is an honor to be on the show. I've been watching you guys since the beginning. Yeah, and it's all-time highs, man. So I'm here at the farm in honor of the all-time highs and the potential for a halving on 420. So
let's go. Life is memes and memes is life. Let's do this.
Yes.
By the way, if YouTube and everyone, that is a legal farm. All licensed farm, all the boxes being checked in case anyone is wondering. But what are we going to talk about during the culture? Because you gave us a little bit of, you teased us a little bit in the before we went on air. So Opti, Eric, what do you guys have in mind?
Yeah. So, of course, guys, our guests, I know how you guys love the Bitcoin origin stories. So we're gonna obviously touch on Bitcoin origin stories. And Eric's been posting some great clips on Twitter. So we're going to talk about Bitcoin, enabling the deflationary world. He also kind of hit us on regulations and why he's not concerned about Bitcoin regulations, considering what industry he works at, as you can tell from the background. And maybe we'll jump into obviously don't trade any shitcoin. So I think we're gonna have a good rip today, guys. And man, it's Monday. Here we go.
It's Monday. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we already have 600 live viewers between YouTube and X, and another 70 or 60 or change on Rumble. So if you guys are enjoying the show, really helps if you smash that like button. Takes literally a second of your time. Just smash it. Really helps with the algos. And comment if you guys are enjoying the show so far. But before we jump into the show, I do want to give a very, very special shout out to our flagship sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. They are a publicly traded company in Canada. They just recently expanded to all the US states. And what's really, really interesting about Bitcoin Well is that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody. So it is self-custody by default. And their mission is to enable independence. So help us make self-custody by default. Self-custody is the revolution, the standard in the US, only brought to you by Bitcoin Well. And by the way, currently there's a Bitcoin Jackpot Contest The jackpot is currently 2.5, over a little bit more than 2.5 million sats. Each entry adds sats to the jackpot. If you're an existing user of Bitcoin Well, go to the rewards section to enter the contest. If you're a new user, go to bitcoinwell.com/contest for more details. And by the way, starting this week, we will be giving away, or better said, Bitcoin Well will be giving away one stamp seed per day. That's right. If you enter into the contest right now, go to bitcoinwell.com/contest, or if you're an existing user, go to the rewards section. If you enter in right now, it's an opportunity to win a stamp seed. And we will be doing this 5 days this week. Today's the first day. So take action if you guys want a stamp seed to properly secure your generational wealth. All right, everybody, let's head to the numbers. No more delay. Let's do this. Here we go.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, gentlemen, I just said it, right? If you guys want an opportunity to win a stamp seed for free, go to bitcoinwell.com/contest. If you guys want to properly secure your generational wealth, and let's say you don't win that contest, you guys can get yourself a stamp seed storage kit right now. Go to stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. Store your generational wealth properly. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to explain to your grandchildren why you lost your Bitcoin. Anyways, at the time of recording, this is going to feel really nice to say this. This is the highest it's ever been when we've recorded a Simply Bitcoin show. The current Bitcoin price is $72,470. That feels really good. Okay, sats per dollar. Opti. How many days, how many years have we been crawling in the bear market trenches, bro? Holy cow.
Too long, man.
Oh man.
Too long.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh, okay. Whew. All right. Sats per dollar, 1,381. Block height, 834,239. Blocks to halving, 5,761. Halving estimate, April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,352 Bitcoin. Capacity value, $315 million US. Realized monetary inflation, 1.74%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin, 1.42 trillion. And Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 10.31%. Anyways, when number go up does its thing, it tends to humble people, right? I've seen this tweet. It is not, I'm not going to take credit for it because I didn't come up with it, but someone said that Bitcoin functions as not an IQ test, but as a humility test. And I think that is so on point. Everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And if you are, someone who benefits from the fiat system, and you don't have those same benefits in the Bitcoin system, you're going to eat a little bit of humble pie, right? And that's what I got to say about that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, not only was Saylor a detractor of Bitcoin. How crazy is that to say these days? Like, the guy who continues to, leverage his company in order to, buy more Bitcoin, right? Saylor going absolutely bananas, doing whatever it takes, to get 1% of the Bitcoin supply. He had a very famous tweet, which is still up, by the way. He did not delete it, where he basically said this Bitcoin thing, like, I don't think it's going to work. And that was back in circa 2015, right? Well, 2017, right? And, Opti and I, this is our era, right? We were around this time. Back in the day, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink called Bitcoin, quote, an index of money laundering, right? Now, BlackRock and Michael Saylor, which is the reason that I named the video, the title of this video, Michael Saylor's Microstrategy and BlackRock are neck and neck. In fact, BlackRock was about to overtake MicroStrategy's stack. And then over the weekend, or Monday, better said, Michael Saylor announced that, through their mechanism, which we're going to go into detail today, they're still able to lead the pack. I don't know for how long, but I found that really interesting. Anyways, so this was, again, a historic moment. October 13, 2017, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink calls Bitcoin an index of money laundering. So if you've been around since 2017, if you're of that class, let this video that I'm about to play be vindication to you. Let the price at 72,569 be a vindication to you, right? All the BS that you probably put up with holding Bitcoin, believing in Bitcoin, and because again, holding Bitcoin on paper sounds easy. Holding Bitcoin in practice is extremely difficult. It is psychological AF. And Bitcoin, what it takes from you is time, right? That's really the price that you pay is time, right? So this is your vindication. This is what you've been waiting for. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, we are just getting started. The halving is around the corner, right? Bitcoin tends to moon about 10 to 9 months after the halving. I know we're in an uncharted territory, but boy, oh boy, if it follows that pattern, things are going to get crazy. And I think that the reason that we're in uncharted territory is I think Bitcoin is making up for lost time of the uneventful last cycle, right? It was just, it was a giant tease, to be frank. And I think another thing, and I think this is what makes it so different. And, we had Fred Krueger on last Wednesday's Simply Bitcoin IRL. What makes this time different are the ETFs and the amount of institutional interest that is just going in. And remember, guys, unlike gold, right, which is, we would all say, okay, gold, it's very scarce, it's a finite resource, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But is it though? Look, if the price of Bitcoin goes up, the gold production goes up along with it. If the price of Bitcoin goes up, the Bitcoin production stays the same. Not only does it stay the same, it actually gets cut in half every 4 years, right? That is absolute scarcity. The world has never seen that before. And if you want to know why Bitcoin was the best performing asset of the last 10, 15 years, that is why. And what you're seeing right now, this epic clash, the reason that Bitcoin is at all-time highs before the halving is because Wall Street is starting to get a taste of this, right? And again, don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Larry Fink has to say. And again, I preface this with, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you.
That there's a lot of merit to it. There's a lot of opportunity. It is a great store, and this is where you can debate. Is it a good store?
But you know how it's made. A bunch of computers figure out
But
math problems.
But the issue is if people believe that it can be an asset that can be cross-border. Right. And let's be clear, if you're in a country where you're fearful of your government, and maybe this is one of the reasons why China has banned it. Mm-hmm. If you're in a government where if you're in a country where you're fearful of your future, fearful of your government, or you're frightened that your government is devaluing its currency by too much deficits.
Like us.
I'm not going to go there.
The little elephant in the room here.
Yeah. You could say this is a great potential long-term store of value. And as I said, it's like digital gold, and I believe.
But you still can't buy a slice of pizza with it. Isn't that kind of odd that we're...
But you can't buy a price of pizza with palladium or gold.
No, but there you can do stuff with them. I can get stuff with... I mean, people use gold for stuff, right?
But you could buy and sell your Bitcoin, no different than gold. So it is very...
What is it? But gold is put in like...
Jewelry.
And you know, iPhones, I think there's in some electronics, there's
it's
gold.
more silver and nickel.
But you see what I'm saying? There are practical uses. Bitcoin, it's literally a ledger, right?
It is a ledger, but it's an international ledger. It's cross-border. It's bigger than any government.
I agree with you.
So I mean, like, you know, again, that's Bitcoin's incentives playing out in real time, right? Like, if you guys noticed the tickers in the back, right, it had Microstrategy stock in there, and it was at $454. You know what Microstrategy stock is right now? I think it's like at $1,400, right? Just to kind of give you an idea. But again, the fact that, you know, Larry Fink is literally talking about, yeah, you want to get Bitcoin if you live in a totalitarian country. You know, this is a store of value. Do you think that he would be saying that just for ideological reasons? Do you think he'd be saying that, you know, just because, you know, it makes him happy? No, he's saying that because he sees an opportunity. But the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, unlike fiat, is that Bitcoin has an aligned incentive structure, meaning everyone benefits from Bitcoin equally, right? Versus in the fiat system, you get the quintillionaire class, right? And the quintillionaire class play by a whole different set of rules than everyone else, right? Here's Saifedean. This is a great tweet. I want to end it with this before I pass it on to our panel, Opti, and our guests today. But here's Saif, and he says, life is not supposed to have such easy shortcuts. But this only seems spectacularly easy because we've spent a century using money that's optimized for government criminals to rob you and getting gaslit into believing life just has to get more expensive and saving is futile. You must keep working harder forever and become a part-time hedge fund manager just to keep the wealth you've already earned from work. If it wasn't for fiat larceny, everything would be always getting cheaper, and saving would be an efficient way to provide for your future. It isn't that Bitcoin is too good to be true. It's just that it kills fiat parasitism, and that is the world's biggest problem, right? So you could have made the argument not too long ago that one of those, you know, quote unquote, biggest benefactors from fiat parasitism was people like Larry Fink, right? And you have one of the biggest fiat quintillionaires, to be frank, one of the people that was speaking the most at the quintillionaire conference or the World Economic Forum, whatever you want to, that forum that they throw in Davos every single year. You know, now you have him absolutely talking the Bitcoin talk, talking about savings, talking about this being an alternative, talking this about protecting you from, you know, completely irresponsible government spending. And he even insinuated that was the US, and the host was like, no. And he was like, haha, no, I'm not talking about the US. But of course he was talking about the US itself. And of course, this goes back to my original point of the tweet. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you. That could be Michael Saylor. That could be Larry Fink. That could be the president of the country. That could be a very wealthy oil sheik. But eventually, everyone bows down to Bitcoin's incentives. The only question that you have to answer is, at what price, you know, are you going to have to pay, right? Are you going to be able to humble yourself quicker, or are you going to have to pay a higher price later? That's the only question that's really on the table. So how long, you know, could these wealth managers and how long could these public, you know, these CEOs of these public Fortune 500 companies, how long could they be looking at Michael Saylor's strategy and just be like, nah, you know what? This guy's a kook. This guy's crazy. I mean, look, I just got to say, and I'll play you guys the video during the news segment. Michael Saylor wore a Bitcoin logo today. All right. And he hasn't done that before. You know, the next step is him growing a beard. I guess that's just going to happen naturally. Anyways, I do want to get Eric's thoughts on this, and then we'll move on to Opti.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. I think it's just the capitulation. These guys are getting sucked into the vortex of incentives. You know, BlackRock, it's has a bad reputation just because of the simple fact, at least in my humble opinion, these individuals have done everything that they can do to get the most. And pre-Bitcoin, that was to buy real estate. It was to leverage your size. It was to participate in that cantillionaire feedback loop, right? And so obviously the fiat forces are unethical and they're bifurcating our society. But I think the thing that's so beautiful about Bitcoin is it's good for everybody. The incentives are for what's best for the individual is now what's best for the collective as well. And so the path of least resistance to get the most is to stack sats. It's this invisible ethical monetary instrument. And the fact that people want to hoard it is good for everybody. BlackRock was buying all these single family homes in America, and that's contributing to homelessness. And so, I mean, I think it's a super fantastic thing. You know, there's a lot of people that are a bit bummed. There's a little bit of rhetoric and dialogue in the world around how, oh, BlackRock's going to come in and corrupt Bitcoin. It's incorruptible. You know, it's like Jeff Booth and George Gammon. I listened to their debate. The whole time Jeff Booth is like, hey, George, how are they going to corrupt it? He's like, oh, well, they're going to debase the currency further. You can't corrupt Bitcoin. You can only further corrupt yourself or a layer on top of it. And so I just think it's a fantastic thing. BlackRock is starting to do the ethical thing. And what's so beautiful about it is they don't have to make some enormous sacrifice and avoid a hard come up. These people get the stack sats, and that's how they're going to make the most money. And so
100%. And I love you hit the nail on the head, right? It's not that BlackRock changed. It's that the game that they're playing has changed. And one game, the incentive structure is set up where you benefit from fucking other people over, right? Versus the Bitcoin incentive structure, it's aligned, right? So these miners and people that are running nodes and, even content creators, right? Like, yes, we love Bitcoin. Yes, we're mining Bitcoin. Yes, we're running a copy, our own copy of the Bitcoin software. And you could say, oh, they're doing it for altruistic reasons. And you could say, I bet you these effing miners are not mining for altruistic reasons. They're doing it out of the pursuit of profit. But the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is them, by pursuing that profit, they're actually making the network stronger, right? And everyone benefits. And this is what we mean by Bitcoin's aligned incentive structure system. So it's not that Larry Fink all of a sudden found Jesus or found Satoshi. He's like, oh, I want to be a good person now. It's that he's just finding a system that, oh, wow, like, yeah, we're just going to pursue this. But unlike the fiat system that fucks everyone out, right? A few win, everyone else gets fucked over. In Bitcoin, everyone wins, right? So that's what you're seeing here. And then it all goes back down to that very, very simple phrase. You don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. Opti, that date, October 31st, 2017, when Larry Fink said, Bitcoin is nothing more than an index of money laundering. Boy, oh boy, how far have we come, my friend? That was your first year, wasn't it? That was 2017.
Yeah, I think that predates me by like about a month. I'm pretty sure I got in roughly a month after that clip. But it's very incredible just seeing how far the Bitcoin narratives have changed in 7 years, about 7 years. And it's also incredible that, I don't know who the co-host was or the host there, but it's funny how we're still dealing with the same narrative floodlines that we've been dealing with forever, that Bitcoiners have thoroughly destroyed for a long, long time. Anyways, on the clip, actually, one thing before I go to that, Nico, you said something about hodling is hard. Like, it's hard to hodl. And while I totally agree, I think there's like a psychological point that, like, once you understand why you hodl, and this is my pinned tweet. I've had this on my Twitter for a while. It's like, once you know why you hodl, the hodling becomes easier. And here's some things you need to learn to understand why you're holding Bitcoin. But like, after a certain point, it becomes so much easier because, like, I just save in Bitcoin. I just hold my Bitcoin. And someone else said in the chat of like, I wasn't able to save money before Bitcoin. And I was the same way. I could barely hold like $300 without it burning a hole in my pocket. And after becoming a Bitcoiner, and literally the meme, like, Bitcoin changes you, you don't change Bitcoin, I was actually able to, accumulate a savings. And it's because Bitcoin is just the greatest savings vehicle. So it's pretty interesting to see Fink and I'm going to put it in quotation marks, become a Bitcoiner. I'm not sure if I'm hyped on this or just absolutely terrified about it.
It's the money. It's the money of enemies, dude.
I know. I was just about to say the same
thing.
thing. I was just about to say the same thing. So it's one of these things where look, BlackRock is the biggest asset manager in the world. They see the value, or at least they understand that publicly or politically it's safe to embrace Bitcoin. And of course, he's talking his bags. Of course, we all know that. But it's becoming a new paradigm. And I've been saying this for a while, that Bitcoin has crossed the Rubicon into public consciousness. And now you're not going to lose your job for being a Bitcoiner. You're not going to, especially as an investment manager, you're not going to lose clout amongst your peers if you're embracing Bitcoin, when the ETFs basically had the best launch of any ETF ever. And now Bitcoin's in price discovery mode. We're in 70K. This next year is going to be absolutely crazy. And, we're someone said in the chat, which is funny, like ESG Fink says, like, we're going to force behaviors. Bitcoin Fink is like, we can't force behaviors.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's like, again, like, no better than their incentives.
Exactly.
Like, American
and on
HODL's
that
the
point,
best.
yeah, and then on that point, like I said this last week, Nico, and you're like, no, we didn't. We're seeing that BlackRock, the pendulum, I think Fink and BlackRock and all the asset managers in the world, they're seeing the pendulum swing. And I saw a tweet this morning, or maybe it was yesterday, about just like how bad all BlackRock's ESG investments are going and how they're defunding out of those ESG investments. And it's very interesting now that they're just going like full head dive into Bitcoin, because we know Bitcoin is not only the most economic investment, but it is the environmental investment in the world. Like, Bitcoin mining incentivizes the use of good energy. And we're seeing right now that like there's been a lot of bad investments in quote unquote green energy. And the fact that we're seeing these big asset managers, the biggest asset managers in the world, start to embrace Bitcoin, that's going to not only be good for like the price, but also for the world at large. And, Bitcoin
100%.
is the best store of value, period. Even Fink gets it. And one more actually two more things. I love how the host says like, oh, you can't buy anything with Bitcoin, and Fink's like, yeah, it's a store of value. You can't buy anything with Palladium. Like, you can't chip gold off and go buy pizzas with that, and yet people still think gold is money. And then the last thing is, I just love how the host commented about the dollar losing value, and he's like, I'm not going to touch that. He's like, I ain't touching that at all. And we all know that's what he was talking about. Like, everyone knows what's the conversation happening right now. But man, it feels so good being right. It feels so good being right.
It's vindication. I mean, and again, we're gonna get to the Financial Times article during the news segment, and it literally starts it off with like, this is a vindication for the hodlers.
Let's go.
Anyways, guys, I do want to remind you guys right now, BitcoinWall.com is the best place to build your Bitcoin stack. Automatic self-custody by default. Self-custody is a revolution. And they currently have a competition today. If you sign up to bitcoinwell.com today, you enter into the competition, the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest. You have an opportunity to win a stamp seed storage kit, absolutely free. We're going to be giving them away 5 days a week this week, Monday through Friday. Today's the first giveaway. So sign up right now, bitcoinwell.com/contest to enter into the contest. You can scan the code on your screen. I also do want to give a shout out to our limited merch drop. We teamed up with a Bitcoin artist. We have all this different merch. We have t-shirts, we have hats, we have snapbacks, dad hats, we have ladies merch, right? Anything you want right now. You could scan the QR code or go to simplybitcoin.com. Really helps if you guys want to support the channel. We highly appreciate it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, no more delay. Let's get to news. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember to get yourself a hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. You want to store your Bitcoin properly, and the best way that you could do that is by getting yourself a hardware wallet. And of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. If you use the code simply or simply Bitcoin, you'll get 3 months of a VPN for free, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so check them out today. You could check the link in the video description or the QR code that was just put up on screen. Anyways, quick ETF update. I'm telling you, look, you could say, Nico, that's an effing coincidence. But I love the quote. I forget who it's by. There are no conspiracies, but there are also no coincidences. Or there's no coincidences, but there is also no conspiracies. I love that quote. I think it's very applicable here. Okay, so what am I talking about, right? You know, I feel like I'm the meme of the guy like with the board and the crazy eyes, like putting stuff together. Okay, so what am I talking about? This is what I'm talking about. So over the weekend, what was about to happen was that the BlackRock ETF was about to overtake Michael Saylor's Microstrategy's Bitcoin position. Before Monday's announcement, Michael Saylor's position was at 195,000 Bitcoin. And BlackRock was on track to overtake it this Monday, right? But what happened was Saylor made a Monday morning announcement, and all of a sudden MicroStrategy's in the clear by another 10,000 Bitcoin. You could say, Nico, that's pure coincidence. That's just, I don't know, man. Look, like, I don't know. I would like to believe that Michael Saylor's like, you know what? I want to stay ahead of the pack. I know you can make the argument one's an asset manager, one's a publicly traded company. Nico, they're two totally different things. I would like to believe that there was some semblance of like, I'm still the big dog here. But anyways, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I would like to believe that. Anyways, so what's the big deal? Michael Saylor came up with this very fascinating strategy where he's leveraging his company to get more fiat in order to buy more Bitcoin. And the fiat loans that he's getting are at ridiculous rates, right? Meaning that the bet really is Bitcoin going to outpace that interest rate? And the interest rates he has is so ludicrously low that it's like, it's so obvious, right? And then that leads me to the other inevitable conclusion that you get to, which is like, how long until other companies see this and they're like, holy cow, I think this is a viable strategy. Maybe not going so intensely, maybe not going so aggressively, but at least having some type of exposure. So he goes on to say, MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for $821 million using proceeds from convertible notes and excess cash for $68,477 per coin. As of March 10th, MicroStrategy holds 205,000 Bitcoin acquired for $6.91 billion at an average price of 33,706 per coin. Now, here's the thing. He's 5,000 coins away from owning 1% of every coin in existence, or that will ever exist in Bitcoin, right? And what's really interesting is that, again, BlackRock is almost at that 1% number too. And Fidelity's almost at that, relatively almost at that 1% number, right? So pretty interesting times, pretty crazy times. But I don't know about you guys. I ain't selling my Bitcoin to BlackRock. Are you? Anyways, so he seems to be doing this strategy over and over again. We hear this announcement every once in a while. We reported it on it yesterday. Here's the Bitcoin therapist, and I think he lays it out the best. He said, Saylor found the infinite money glitch, the infinite Bitcoin loop, Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, debt, Bitcoin, wash and repeat. This thing goes much higher. Wall Street FOMO is about to be insane. And that's absolutely right. He's leveraging his company. The company's share price goes up. He does it again, rinse and repeat. the share price goes up, Bitcoin goes up, and he keeps repeating this. He literally found the infinite money glitch in a video game, but he found it in real life, all thanks to the fiat system. This is what Saylor's doing right now. Holy shit, right? Which is fucking crazy. He's getting hundreds of millions of dollars out of nowhere at these crazy rates. The last time when we reported it to you guys last week, it was at 0.625% interest rate. That's free money essentially, right? Absolutely crazy. So Saylor did go on Squawk Box this morning, of course, you know, like kind of I would say the vindication media circuit celebrating, you know, as long with, I think Donald Trump was on this morning as well. And they're asking him some questions. The whole entire video is about 12 minutes and 57 seconds. I don't know if we have time to play the entire thing, but I'll play you guys the beginning because it's pretty interesting. Let's check it out.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. Bitcoin crossing the $70,000 mark for the first time on Friday this morning. It's now above $72,000. Join us right now to talk Bitcoin is Michael Saylor, Microstrategy Executive Chairman, and 8K out from the company this morning, revealing it just bought more than $800 million in Bitcoin. As of the end of last month, his company held about 200,000 Bitcoins. And Michael, I want to thank you for joining us. You have been early and courageous, and you continue to double down. I want to talk about where you think Bitcoin is, but also want to talk about how you think about MicroStrategy and your company as a proxy for Bitcoin now that ETFs are available to the public.
Sure. Well, I think I'd start just with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly at least digital gold. It's going to eat gold. It's got all of the great attributes of gold, and it's got none of the defects of gold. If you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. It's going to divert capital from risk assets and risk ETFs like SPY, and you can see that these ETFs are doing that. It's going to be incorporated into a lot of funds like the BlackRock Global Opportunities Fund or the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund. And so it's an asset class. As it goes into other funds, it's going to become structural. The halving is going to cut the organic supply of natural sellers in half around April 20th. That means there's only about $32 million a day of natural sellers. And the price of Bitcoin is going to have to adjust up in order to meet that investor demand. So I think that's what's going to happen next to the asset class.
So absolute bolt-hearted, going in hot. The guy has his shirt unbuttoned. He is wearing Bitcoin merch. I think that's the first I've seen on Saylor. That giant effing smile. Yeah, this is what winning looks like. You know, in the next cycle, Michael Saylor is going to have a lot beard. I'm telling you, it's going to be long. You know. And it just comes with, you know, holding Bitcoin and what it does to you. It just kind of gives you this like, I don't care. You guys gave me so much shit for so long. I was right. Kind of haha. You know, of course, you know, he has to be responsible. He's the CEO and chairman of a public company, all that good stuff. But still, man, I mean, he is stepping out of his comfort zone. He's smiling more and he's wearing a Bitcoin shirt on Legacy Financial Media, right? But okay, and on a more serious note, let's pay attention to a couple of things that he said about how BlackRock is including this on in other funds. That is absolutely 100% right. So other than the ETFs, Bitcoin is being added to other funds. So other funds are getting Bitcoin exposure. What happens when that Bitcoin allocation, that 1% or 3%, whatever, starts outperforming the rest of the portfolio of that said fund? What happens there, right? And it starts to become, right, this, you know, this self-fulfilling prophecy kind of feeds into each other. And that's exactly what's happening right now. That's what's happening with Michael Saylor's stock. That's what's happening with these ETFs. I think that's what's starting to happen with Wall Street, getting a taste of what absolute scarcity feels like. And Saylor said it best. We have the halving coming along, right? So that sell pressure gets cut in half. All the stars and moons and planets are all aligning right now. It's all incredibly obvious. Maybe we're in the euphoria phase, Opti, but I don't know, man. The trends are still down. You know, people aren't really searching this enough. I'm still not getting text messages from people that I haven't talked to in 7 years. So I still feel like we have a long way to go, my friend. Maybe I'm being way too optimistic, but that's currently how I'm feeling. Anyways, I want to get Eric's thoughts and then we'll move on to Opti.
Yeah, Giga Chad, man. It's like he hacked the Matrix. He figured out how to flip the system on its head and benefit himself in just such an epic way. He created this feedback loop. They have to keep lending these shitty cuckbucks into existence. He's like, yeah, I got a business. I'm a fiscally responsible guy. You can pass it over here. We got a cash flow. I'll pay the bills. They keep loaning him money. He's like, you fucking dummies. He keeps just putting it into Bitcoin, dude. It's one of the most epic things. He's going to go down in the history books as the greatest fucking trader in all of human history.
Dude, he's leveraging the fiat system to speculatively attack the dollar. That's what's happening right now. Am I wrong?
All your models are destroyed. Giga Chad, dude.
He's attacking the fiat system
using
the fiat system.
That, though, Nico. He can't actually say that, but that's what he's doing.
He doesn't need to say that when he wears that shirt on TV with that giant smile. And when he eventually starts growing a beard in about a year or two, then it's going to be confirmed. He might not say it publicly, but it'll be confirmed at that point.
It's going to be a big godly beard for sure. Yes, it is, dude. He might start wearing
lasers
all white
coming out, bro. Yeah, all white.
At $1 million bucks, he's gonna wear all white.
He's gonna be wearing all white. 100%. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
Dude, I've been saying for a while, man, you know, I wish I had this infinite money glitch that Saylor has. He's absolutely putting on a masterclass. And, you know, I was watching these numbers. I think I mentioned it last week on Friday when we were covering the spot ETF numbers. And it's like, man, it looks like BlackRock might actually overtake Michael Saylor at Microstrategy. And remember, we were covering this news over the weekend, Nico. It's like, what? When that what's the sale? I'm blanking on what he calls it, but it was at 600 million, and then Friday it came out, it was 700 million, and then on Monday morning it's 800 million. He's like, dude, I am not gonna let you guys overtake me. And like you said, you know, 5,000 Bitcoin away from getting 1% of the total Bitcoin supply. Now the real question is he going to be able to keep this up? Because BlackRock seems to be taking an incredible amount of Bitcoin.
So.
I know. He's going to get past
but he had the last say. He had the last say. He's like, nah, you don't got me now.
He got it. But man, it's absolutely incredible. And really, like, the signal here is, of course, not only that Saylor does seem more happy, you know, he's having a good time. He's wearing Bitcoin merch on the show. And it's just when another couple billionaires or one more billionaire comes out and starts playing this game, not only is that going to it's going to really blow the price up and the game theory is really going to start to take hold, but it's going to be incredibly hard for any other high net worth individual to ever catch up to Michael Saylor or BlackRock. And
they won't be able to.
Yeah, they won't be able to. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Saylor might, like Eric was saying, Saylor is probably going to go down as not only the best trader, but probably the richest man in the world coming up now. And it's like, man, what a time to be alive, and that we all watch this happen in real time. And remember, Nico, you were talking to him in Madeira, and he's all like, I have no idea why no one else is doing this. And he's like, it's the simplest trade ever. What are you guys even doing? Do you guys even care about money and storing your value? Like, this is the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, because for anyone tuning in, right? So, I was very, very lucky enough to cross paths with Saylor in Bitcoin Atlantis and Madeira in Portugal. And I was like, dude, like, you're clearly outperforming. You know, you had, I didn't say dude, but I was like, you're outperforming stuff. You know, you did your quarter one, you know, MicroStrategy presentation. He's like flexing, he's doing the presentation with the numbers next to him. MicroStrategy is outperforming everything. And I asked him, I'm like, why isn't someone copying you by now? Like, this is so obvious. He's like, I don't know. Right. So like, you know, and that you can only do that for so long until the pressure from markets start to do what the pressure from markets do best. Right. I don't think it's a coincidence that the CEO of Vanguard stepped down, you know, a couple weeks or a month after he said that Vanguard was not going to be allowing their customers to buy Bitcoin. Right. So again, like, you can take an ideological stance against this thing, but, you know, this thing's just going to eat your lunch. Literally, Bitcoin is the apex predator. Bitcoin is the black hole. It's going to eat everything in its path. And you either decide to jump on the train or you don't. Kason said it best this morning. I'm going to pull up the tweet because it's extremely fit. He said, Bitcoin has won. Those who choose to lay down their financial arm and capitulate now still have the opportunity to not get wrecked and keep of some of their wealth intact. Everyone and everything else will be devastated. You have been warned. 100% right. And whether that's the legacy financial media, whether that's these institutions, I don't care how long they've been around. If you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, you're not only doing a disservice to your company, but if you have clients that are, supposedly looking to you for financial advice, you're doing a disservice to them as well, right? And I believe that is what's going to be that's what's going to become really apparent this cycle, right? And another indication of that is not only are we having the legacy financial media capitulating, this is an opinion piece by the Financial Times. The Financial Times is, again, one of the staples of, the legacy financial world.
We don't call them the Fiat Times
right?
for nothing.
Like, we're literally, I remember when Opti joined, he's like, why the F are we subscribed to FT and Bloomberg? I'm like, bro, if you want to know what your enemy's thinking, we have to read what our enemy is reading, right? And again, so we're very plugged into what the legacy financial media thinks of Bitcoin, because it's really, really important. And again, this is a capitulation piece, this entire thing. It's a very, very good positive step in the right direction. Again, this is once again the legitimization of Bitcoin in the traditional financial world, which I know for a lot of Bitcoiners, you're like, I don't give a flying fuck about that. Okay, you don't care, but and I don't think you don't need to care, right? Eric Kayson said it best, right? Bitcoin already won. It's your choice whether you want to get left behind or not. But still, this vindication feels good, and this vindication also tells me that there's a lot more institutional interest coming in, which means number go up, of course. So anyways, this opinion piece is called "Bitcoin Bulls Are Not the Bigger Fools." It's on the Financial Times website. It goes on to say, once dismissed as fanatics, the Bitcoin bulls must be feeling vindicated. Goddamn right we are. They made an accurate call on the cryptocurrency's potential for gains, witnessed the staggering rally underway, and were right, at least in part, for the right reasons. When Bitcoin was all the rage at the start of this decade, many serious investors and traditional economists spurred it as a useless fad, even a fraud. Their scorn, seemingly confirmed by its crash in 2022, persists today while the currency separates itself from the pack. Back in 2021, Bitcoin was often groped alongside other favorites of the day trading crowd, such as unprofitable tech and meme stocks. Today, those other bubblets are trading on an average at half their peaks, while Bitcoin recently hit an all-time high. It is extremely unusual for a bubble to burst, then recover to reach new heights so quickly, and suggests that something real and sustainable is going on. Again, guys, you have to understand who is saying this. This isn't just Bitcoiners on Bitcoin Twitter or Bitcoiners on Nostr or Bitcoiners in general. This is the legacy financial media telling you this, right? Bitcoin's comeback is remarkable as well for defying the general shape of the current bull market, which is heavily concentrated in the big tech stocks. Investors have taken the tech heavyweights seriously throughout, perhaps even more so now that they are seen as the giants most likely to dominate the future of artificial intelligence. Bitcoin gets no boost from AI mania. The Bitcoin bulls have been proven mostly right about its prospects as a long-term investment. And in this regard, as the king of cryptos, since the low point in the late 2022, its price is up around 300%, more than all but one of the top 10 cryptos. Moreover, it is the fastest growing from a much larger base, with a market cap of more than 1.3 trillion. Skeptics doubted that Bitcoin could ever be taken seriously while its price was swinging so wildly, but its volatility has been dropping sharply according to Bloomberg and at its historic lows, nearly 5 times less volatile than at the dizzying highs of the past decade. It is, though, still less safe as a currency than the dollar. I disagree with that. Or as an investment than gold. I disagree with that also. The fundamental story has not confirmed the bulls' case for Bitcoin in every way. They expected that, lifted by its popularity among the youth, it would become the new digital gold. That's still a dream. Gold has been more than holding its own, trading at all-time highs and far above its fair value base on inflation expectations. To diversify away from the dollar, central banks worldwide are buying gold, not Bitcoin, at record pace. Well, I mean, what I got to say about, the central banks doing that is have fun staying poor. And here's Dylan LeClaire, right, accurately pointing out, the MicroStrategy playbook. MicroStrategy issues debt to buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin against debt, MicroStrategy market cap goes up, weight in indices goes up, MicroStrategy issues equity to buy Bitcoin, and they just rinse and repeat, right? How long until people figure this out? How long until a central bank figures this out, right? How long until that happens? It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Right. So expect more of these vindication articles coming out from Legacy Financial Media. Expect the Legacy Financial video media to talk more and more about Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks. Man, I agree with Eric. I think we won. This is what winning feels like. Maybe it's the first innings of it. Maybe we're in the process of jumping that chasm, between the early innovators and early majority. But yeah, I mean, why I say we're winning, guys? Because never in Bitcoin's history and shout out to Saylor for putting his neck on the line. He put his public company on the line and his neck on the line and said, listen, a Bitcoin strategy is a necessity. It's not an option. And he was proven right. And then on a nation state level, you have El Salvador also being proven tremendously right. Right. And again, do you think it's a coincidence that the country with the most popular president on the face in the Americas has also made Bitcoin legal tender? Do you think it's a coincidence that they have somehow figured out the security situation on the ground in their country and no other country has? Do you think that's a coincidence? It's sure a lot of coincidence these days. Anyways, that's what I got to say about that, man. But this feels good, Opti. This feels good. This is vindication for as Bitcoiners that have been here for a couple of years,
Yeah, well, I just want to quickly touch on the Fiat Times article. I find it very telling that this is just an opinion piece, not necessarily like a news story. And since we've been following, I had to catch up, and at first, I was even like Nico mentioned, I'm like, why are we following these? This is all trash. But you realize that a lot of signal gets leaked out in quote unquote opinion pieces, and that's how you start to kind of spread that signal so that it's palatable for most people. And man, again, this is vindication. We're seeing all kinds of articles come out from the corporate press like this about maybe the Bitcoiners were right about this. I think there was one, I forget where it was. It was like Yahoo or something on Friday where they're basically saying the same thing, like, oh, the Bitcoin bulls are correct. And I absolutely love that headline. Bitcoin bulls, we're not the biggest bulls in the room. We might actually be the smarter ones in the room. And finally, we're in the cycle where it's, I always joke about the Bitcoin cycles. There's like 3 years where you are considered an idiot, and then 1 year of you being considered a genius. And now we're getting into maybe we're going to be geniuses for more than just 1 year. So, hey, it feels good seeing the Fiat Times slowly trickle that signal out there. And you start to see that the tide is shifting, that people are starting to wake up to Bitcoin as a viable alternative to everything else. And now it's palatable. And now everyone's like, wait, I need a Bitcoin strategy or else I'm getting left in the dust. So I don't even think we've seen the start of the FOMO yet. Again, I'm not getting tech. Like my friends still think they're like, well, my friend this morning was texting me about like, oh, I'm buying Reddit stock. It's going to be the next GameStop. And I'm like, bro, I've been telling you about Bitcoin for years now and you still don't listen to me. So I don't even think we've gotten into the retail FOMO yet. But hey, Wall Street is starting to really catch that FOMO bug, and man, I'm here for it.
Oh man, Eric, what's your take on all this, bro? Are we winning or are we winning?
Oh, we're winning, and it's game theoretic. The thing that's so awesome with what Saylor's done is as if other corporations don't do it, he's gonna own the world. He's gonna have the only corporation. He's gonna start diluting his shares to just buy up all the other companies, and unethical companies that have a history of just perpetual scumbaggery, like Nestle, for example. Come the end of the year when the accounting rules change, they're going to be incentivized to buy Bitcoin instead of go to some impoverished village somewhere, drill a well, and then sell water to people who are starving and thirsty and have no money, right? And so it's the game theory that, like, you either join Bitcoin or you get wrecked, and it's like, yeah, it's a big deal. I think that what he's done is just epic. And it's my understanding too that he single-handedly pushed the accounting board over the edge and orange pilled these people. And I do also think that the reason that these other companies aren't doing it is because of the accounting practices and the fact that it's bad for their P&L. And they're a bunch of normies. These companies are ran by people, board of directors. They have a board of directors who don't understand this. Especially if you're a board member of a mega corporation, you've been a quintillionaire, you've been winning. So you don't have that economic pain and that like large incentive for you to figure out how to escape the problems because your life has actually been quite good. And so that's all changing now, because if these people don't do it, if these corporations don't adopt the Treasury Reserve standard like Saylor did, they're toast. And so that's just super exciting. Same thing with nation states. El Salvador, I look so, dude, 20 years, it's going to be epic to see what El Salvador looks like.
Dude, it's
like, dude, it's so exciting. And it's not like nobody has to make some like painful, terrible sacrifice to do the right thing. Like you do the right thing and you get paid the most. You come up the hardest. And so, yeah, it's awesome, man. Absolutely awesome.
Man, it feels good. It feels good to win. Ladies and gentlemen, take it in. If you guys got in before January of 2024, you ran Wall Street. And feel good. This is all vindication, ladies and gentlemen. They're admitting it.
I'm so smart.
They're telling us. They're saying it. They're saying it on video. They're saying it, in the papers. So it feels really, really good. Anyways, guys, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Evangelism, and it's a book by Brian DeMint. It's called Bitcoin Evangelism: Planting Seeds for a Decentralized Revolution. We have 10 million people to orange pill. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint is an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and altcoiners alike. This is a book for Bitcoiners who know Bitcoin but have a hard time explaining it to their friends. It's a book for Bitcoiners who are trying to explain Bitcoin only to altcoiners. It's available on Amazon right now. Scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture.
The Daily Culture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the culture, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom Racks. They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, host mining equipment. You can check out their racks today by scanning the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description. It will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You can also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Racks. What are you waiting for? This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. Check out Kaboom Racks today. All right, Opti, what are we talking about during the culture, man? We got Eric here. We gotta take advantage of him joining us. We got the news out of the way.
Yeah. So just like everyone on our show and our chat, they love Bitcoin origin stories. So I know we're gonna tee you up for some rants, but let's just start with the Bitcoin origin story. So Eric, why'd you become a Bitcoiner? What's the deal here, bro?
So I'll give you the most comprehensive version of that story and keep it as short as I can. My parents divorced when I was 5 years old. My mother remarried a psychiatrist. He worked in the prison systems and he fucking gave all these inmates a bunch of pills. And as a result, multiple family members of mine got into anti-anxiety and antidepressants. It was societally accepted and they thought that they were doing the right thing because here's this individual with a doctorate degree who's credible and whatever. And so by the time I hit my teenage years, I developed an affinity for cannabis and an aversion to pharmaceuticals and what now I look back at is just the fiat world. And that led me ended up in Humboldt County. In 2009, I got invited to Humboldt County to trim on a trim scene, an outdoor harvest with, a bunch of ganja, and it was a medical marijuana farm. And for me, that was kind of a dream come true. I never left. I've been here since. And I started to professionally cultivate cannabis. And I had all of my ducks in a row when Prop 64 was passed. And so I purchased a property in consultation with Humboldt County and the state of California to become a licensed cannabis farmer. And that was in 2016. It was a 2-year process of me owning this farm, becoming licensed, and then in turn selling the property. It was the first house and the first acreage that I had purchased. So I spent, a year going down the rabbit hole learning about our economy and our money system and the boom bust cycles. You know, I was 33 years old at the time, and obviously I owned this land. So I had a huge economic incentive to understand what forces I was contending with. And that sent me to understanding hard money and then Bitcoin. It was like 2017 in November when I discovered Bitcoin, and my mind exploded. I couldn't believe it because I had seen demand meet supply. And as demand meets supply with anything, and in my case, it was cannabis, the value of that product was going down. And my basic understanding at the time of Bitcoin and having this hard capped money, which essentially money has infinite demand on it. It's a call option on any good or service that the marketplace produces. So everybody on planet Earth wants money. So you got infinite demand with true scarcity. So as the demand goes up for Bitcoin, the supply doesn't change. As the demand was going up for cannabis, their prices bid up. It's more of an economic incentive for entrepreneurs and capital to move into the cannabis business and meet that demand with supply, driving the price down. And so my stumbling down the rabbit hole, if you will, really helped me to understand that I had an existential crisis and my dream come true. I ended up getting licensed in the first week of January 2018, which was the beginning of licensure from the state of California. It was like a dream come true for me. Since I was 15 years old, I had been, I don't know, kind of like an outcast for liking cannabis and no other drugs. I had an affinity for cannabis because it's a fucking plant and it's anti-cancerous and it's, you know, I don't know. I think that people should at the very least have the option to consume cannabis and not go to jail if they want to, right? And so this was an epic monumental achievement for me in my life, turn absolute nightmare. You know, as an example, 10 years ago, a bulk wholesale premier pound of cannabis was $3,000. And today a better pound is like $800. But my cost of living has doubled, if not tripled. So I make anywhere between like 1/6 to 1/18 per unit produced. And so that's the deflationary forces that we're experiencing in the world. And at the time when I owned this property, I intuitively knew that I had a problem. And my, I don't know, come to Bitcoin moment, if you will, was what incentivized me to sell the property and pivot my business strategy to consulting. And when the Saylor series hit, that's when I was all in. I panic sold, essentially sweating bullets, just like everything that I possibly could, and piled all into Bitcoin. And actually, I haven't purchased a house since I sold that property. And I live in a rental. I own 2 vehicles. I got a wife. I got 1 kid, and I live in a rental, and I own Bitcoin. And it's quite liberating, honestly. It's a powerful feeling, and it's also, you know, for me, every time I bag a pound, it's a fuck you to big pharma. You know, I have multiple family members who died as a result of getting into pharmaceuticals. My mother committed suicide when I was 20 years old because she had been taking antidepressants for 10 years, 15 years, and they didn't solve any of her problems. So now, like, I stack sats and it's a fuck you to the big fiat world, right? And so there's a lot of things that are aligned there that are kind of powerful and mean a lot to me. Yeah, so I'm a hardcore Bitcoiner. No shit coins, nothing, no gold, none of it. All Bitcoin forever. I'll ride this thing to infinity or to zero. I don't give a fuck, dude. It's a big deal.
Let's go. Oh man, he literally sold his chairs for Bitcoin. Let's talk about what you
are shit coins, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're not in chairs right now. Let's talk about what you were telling us before we even went live on how you have no concern over Bitcoin regulations and how regulations are going to have to bend the knee to Bitcoin, especially considering what you just told us. I think that's great segue.
Yeah, so in 1996, Prop 215 was passed in the state of California, which was the regulation that put into effect lawful production and distribution of cannabis or medical marijuana at the time for qualified patient members. You could go to a doctor if the doctor, and it turned into a pay to play, you know, kind of situation. You go to the doctor, you say, hey, I have aches or pains, or I have terminal cancer and everything in between, and they'll write you a prescription for cannabis, which allows you to go to a dispensary and purchase cannabis. Well, the result of that over 22 years until Prop 64 passed and adult use recreational cannabis was voted into effect was a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you have this existing multi-billion-dollar industry, and in 2016, the people of the state of California voted to pass adult use recreational cannabis. It became like really legal. It wasn't this quote-unquote gray market that it had been for the prior 20 years. And what ended up happening is that when the new regs or the new rule passed, then the regulators in the state of California had to come in and bring in rule sets, regulations for an existing multi-billion-dollar industry. And they do what regulators do best. As Saylor would say, a bunch of well-intentioned politicians with too many rules and too many fees. And so they came at the industry with like way overbearing, burdensome, extensive red tape. It was just crazy regulations. And what ended up happening is that the business owners or the cannabis industry at large essentially said, no, we're not participating in any of that. Like, you get fucked. We're not going to, quote unquote, as the state said, come into compliance and participate in your rules and your regulatory overreach, because it's craziness. And you're talking about farms that are visible from satellite. You can go on Google Maps and you can see these farms. They're giant greenhouses like the one that I'm in here. You can see it on Google Maps. And so as opposed to the state of California sending people all around the state to go punish these individuals who basically said your rules are crazy and we're not going to participate, they went back to the drawing board and they came back with much more favorable rules. A good example of those statistics: the state of California, the governor, Jerry Brown, at the time, wrote into effect MRSA, Medical Marijuana Safety Regulations Act, which put into effect the basic infrastructure and regulatory framework preemptively for the passing of Prop 64. And that put pressure, or it made the counties come up with their own land use ordinance. You could either approve or deny cannabis activity of any sort in your county, but if you're going to approve it, you have to permit it. It's kind of like if you're going to put in a bar somewhere, you have to get a liquor license. So the county or the municipality which you operate in has to approve the setbacks. This can't be too close to a school or a bus stop or whatever. And so Humboldt County put in their land use ordinance, because Humboldt County has been the mecca of cannabis production within the country, and definitely the state of California, since, I don't know, for quite some time. Their rule set said, essentially, you have a deadline. This is the end of 2015. It was 6 months from MRSA being signed into effect, 6 months to register your farm. At the time, the planning department in Humboldt County counted 12,600 and some odd farms that they determined to be of commercial scale that you could see via satellite. Out of those 12,600 and some odd farms, 123 people registered their farms. The entire cannabis production community basically gave the middle finger to the state and the regulators and said, what you're asking for is absolutely preposterous. It's too much. It's not going to happen. And instead of the county sending people around to go punish these individuals, they went back to the drawing board. They extended the deadline an entire year and came back with way more favorable rules. And so the way that I look at what's happening with the United States government or any of the governments around the world, and the attempted ban on self-custody, or the idea that they want to KYC who the miners sell the coins to, is preposterous. You can't see the Bitcoin. You don't even know if someone has it. Like, I send my coins off of coin. I bought a bunch of it KYC, but did I send it to the right address? Like, I know individuals who literally have lost coins. You can't even prove that they have the keys. And so if the regulators in the state of California couldn't force regulations down the throat of brick and mortar businesses, large cannabis facilities that you could see from space, how are they going to force rules down the Bitcoin community? They're going to bend the knee so hard, they're going to get hospitalized if they're not careful, and they're going to come back with much more favorable rules. And just like all the Bitcoin maximalists know, at some point, like in the famous words of Breedlove, Bitcoin is going to make governments become beholden to the preferences of its citizens. We have the power, And another thing Saylor said in it was a podcast with him, Kaysen Vallis, and American Hodl and Breedlove. He says that the regulators or the governments or the ruling class, they have contempt for people who are weak, but they respect people who are powerful. And now we're powerful. we have FU money. We have unconfiscatable, inviolable property, and they're going to come correct, as they say on the streets. They're going to come with much more favorable terms. They're going to try a bunch of preposterous, crazy shit like they did with cannabis. They're going to ask for it all, and they're going to get none of it until they come with things that the people agree to. And so we have leverage now. For the first time in human history, we have all the leverage. And it's good. Bitcoin, here's another thing. Bitcoin is no threat, as far as I can tell, to anybody. I used to think that, oh, dang, this is a threat to the central banks. No, it's a solution for everybody. You know, they hard forked reality when they started lying and debasing the certificates that they had representing the gold on reserve. And that created this feedback loop, and it's like distorting, bifurcating. It's destroying our culture, our society, wrecking time preference. And this Bitcoin, it pays you to do the opposite of that. And yeah, as far as I can tell, I look at the world, it's a fundamentally new world. 2009, Satoshi changed our reality. We live in a fundamentally different world. It's a different paradigm. The incentives are different. The incentive is to peace. And like, it's not hard now to do the right thing. You get paid to do it. And so corporations, nation state, plebs, ballers, central banking bloodlines, everybody's coming in for Bitcoin because it's the way to get the most. We live in a world where it's energy in, energy out. You want to exert the least energy to get the most in return. That's been the way the world has worked since the beginning of time. And now the way that you do that is to hoard this metaphysical, invisible, finite property, as Saylor says, is the hardest substance in the known universe. And it fundamentally changes everything. And it's the most inspiring thing ever. Like, dude, I used to be a little bummed on the world. I think everybody can attest to that. Now I fundamentally think, and I truly believe this to the core of my being, this is the most exciting time to live in all of human history. This is a big deal, and I'm absolutely enthralled, and I'm just really grateful to be a part of it all. So, yeah.
Hold on. Everyone's requesting the soundboards.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Bars,
I really like the hard forking reality meme. Like, that's a great meme. And someone in the chat's like, wow, I never thought of that.
They fucking hijacked the shit
it's
out
incredible.
of it. Yeah, dude. Okay, hold on. I have so
I know.
many questions.
I can see Nico is actually enthralled.
I have so many questions there. Okay, first of all, man, that was effing inspirational. I don't say that lightly. That was some good stuff. And I just got to say, man, look, yes, not only did they hard fork reality, the nihilism that you're describing, right? I think a lot of the world is feeling that right now, this lack of opportunity, lack of hope. And I think that they continue to seek a political solution to it. But the reality is, it's just the solution's right. It's right in their face, right? It's just to opt out. Switch your money, switch your unit of account, and then all of a sudden you have hope. All of a sudden you're like, wow. It's like, not only will I be able to afford my hopes and dreams, my family's family will be able to afford their hopes and dreams. And really what's happening right now is the world is getting unfucked from this psyop that for some effing goddamn reason, money has to lose purchasing power in order for it to exist. And all of a sudden comes the freight train of Bitcoin, and it's basically saying like, yo, like, not only does it not have to lose purchasing power, it actually could dramatically increase in purchasing power over time. Meaning all you got to do is save, buddy. Work on what you love, put some of money to the side, save, and all of a sudden you're going to have a future. You're going to have hope for a future. Doesn't matter where you are in this pyramid, right? You're the lower, the lower classes, poverty, whatever. If you put a little bit to save in Bitcoin, talk to me in 4, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. I bet you're going to be way better off, than where you started. So yeah, I think the world is changing that operating system. They're going from this nihilistic, fucking hard forked, hijacked, whatever you want to call it, to Bitcoin. And all of a sudden Bitcoin's giving them their time back. It's giving them hope back. It's giving them their opportunity back, man. So you hit the nail on the head. And yeah, man, especially with kind of like the industry that you're working in kind of coming up. And, if you learn the history of cannabis in the US and the legality of it, it's a very, very interesting rabbit hole, to say the least. But that example that you brought up, but basically, look, the government tried to step in, basically get everyone to register and KYC their farms. And, the vast majority of the farmers said, like, nah, dog, I'm okay, I'm good. Like, I don't want to deal with that. Now, could you imagine like on a nation level, instead of, I think you said 1,200 farms, it's millions of individuals basically saying, wait a second, you want me to like send you my pub files and my balances and my addresses? Why do I have to do that? Right. And then that's going to be a really kind of like, not only for the politicians is that going to be a very tough pill to swallow, but also for people. They're going to feel empowered, the likes of which they've never felt empowered before, right? And this applies to everyone on the economic spectrum, right? Which is the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, right? You might not have as much Bitcoin as Saylor. You might have 0.25, but you're going to benefit from number go up just as much as he is. And if you take self-custody, because that's one of the things that Eric didn't say, right? You're going to benefit from all this, but only if you're taking Bitcoin in self-custody, right? That's the big caveat. If you're taking Bitcoin to self-custody, you're going to benefit from all this tremendously. But that's the beauty of Bitcoin, right? Is that everyone benefits equally, right? Doesn't matter whether you're Larry Fink, Michael Saylor, the pleb that has 0.1 or 0.25 Bitcoin built up. You're going to benefit from that number go up. So yeah, man, I appreciate you telling us, your story and that example with the cannabis farmers. And I think the same thing's going to happen with self-custody. I think the same thing's going to happen, man.
Yeah, it was 123 out of 12,000 farmers that want
12,000
to farm.
Wow.
They want to farm. That's why they're doing it. And so they said, you get effed. Your rules are preposterous. Another thing I want to add, if I could, is I think Bitcoin is making things better for people who don't even own Bitcoin. The no coiners are benefiting from the fact that I don't own a home, that all my economic energy is stored in Bitcoin as opposed to a fourplex or multiple single family homes. The fact that BlackRock is stacking sats now instead of buying more single family homes is downward price pressure on housing and upward price pressure on Bitcoin. And the fact that Bitcoin is this invisible property, it means that as the economic energy or the money goes into it, its price going up, the hoarding of it doesn't hurt anybody. It's like, I love what Booth says, where you have abundance in money, you create scarcity in goods and resources. Where you have scarcity in money, you create abundance in goods and resources. Yeah, I think I said that right. And that's a big deal. And I also think that the fiat paradigm, because every time there's a liquidity crisis or an insolvency within the system, they have to bail out. They have to print more money. And the fact that the money is getting lent into existence as debt against assets means that everything in the marketplace has to go up. So when there's a crisis, you have exponentially more liabilities within the system requiring exponentially more money printing. And as that money gets injected into the system, prices are going up on things. And like Saylor says, it's a vector. You can't measure the inflation because money moves into different sectors in the marketplace at different rates. And so I believe, and I've been thinking a lot about this over the last, year and 6 months and 3 months, it's really I think it's become a thesis that I can't dispute. Bitcoin is supreme collateral. If I'm a financial institution, let's say I'm going to personify a bank or all the banks, where they have to keep with fractional reserve lending, where you got to keep printing money into existence as debt against assets, I'd rather lend against Bitcoin because it's premier collateral. So if I'm lending against houses, and let's say some guy loses his job and he's in the middle of a remodel in his kitchen, for example, he has to foreclose on that. The bank has to foreclose on that individual or that family. And then they have to sell this house into the marketplace only where there's people who want to buy that house in that actual location. So I live in a small town, for example. Let's say someone goes belly up and they can't pay their mortgage, the bank forecloses, then they got to sell that. 20 people, 50 people want to buy that house. But if you start lending fiat dollars against Bitcoin, let's say it's like a BLOC, a Bitcoin equity line of credit. Then if someone goes belly up or they can't pay the bills, then the banks can sell that Bitcoin 24/7, 365 to get their money back. And if the inflation, the debasement of the currency starts going into the Bitcoin price, and Bitcoin starts going up forever, Laura, like it's going to, that doesn't hurt anybody. If they keep debasing the currency and housing goes up 5x in a 3-5 year period or something like that, people are going to be fucking homeless. But if they're debasing the currency and the money's going into Bitcoin, that doesn't hurt anybody. It actually helps everybody, including the no-coiners. And another thing that I will add to that I think about a lot, actually, and it may be the most, liberating concept for me, is there's a lot of narrative within the Bitcoin community about a potential 6102. Oh, the honeypot. BlackRock's got all these coins. The ETF's got all these coins. They're going to fucking confiscate all the coins, and they're going to send everybody into a CBD and enslave a humanity, and we're going to reduce the population and feed everybody bugs, right? Well, I get the thesis, and I used to have that fear. When Bitcoin hit the scene, I'm like, oh, dang, this is a problem for like the people who have been benefiting from our broken paradigm. Well, so if I'm a central banker or central banking bloodline or just the government or some sort of financial institution, you're going to continue doing what has to happen, right? Like you got to print money, you got to keep the dollar system going. You can't just turn the fiat world off and start a Bitcoin standard. There has to be some sort of a transition. And also, let's not forget the incentive is to stack sats. We want to get the coins. They can print money. They can print money. I'll tell you right now, I'm a hardcore, diehard fucking maximalist. And the last thing that I would really be into is giving some of my Bitcoin to a bank. But I'll tell you what, like, I'm tired. I'm 39 years old. I've been working my ass off. Like, I'd have a tough time not considering giving up a fraction of a coin to be able to borrow some fiat dollars so I could go, I don't know, take a break, relax for a minute. And so if they can lend money against Bitcoin, it's an incentive for people to give Bitcoin to the banks. It benefits the people. The banks now are going to get some Bitcoin. You could pay the bank back and get your coins back. You can now create like this feedback loop that the cantillionaire effect has when you own like a real estate portfolio, but it's not hurting anybody if that happens. And so also, I think that it's going to transition us into the Bitcoin standard. The governments are going to continue to go broke. The more that they debase, the more that their cost of operating goes up, the more that they have to debase. But as they adopt a Bitcoin standard, their balance sheet, their treasury reserve starts to appreciate at such a fast rate. It's an upward price move in your balance sheet faster on average than the deflationary forces you're experiencing in the market. Your loss of income is happening at a slower rate than your appreciation on your balance sheet. So it like fixes everything, including fiat. It makes fiat better. And so it's going to slowly bring solvency back into an insolvent world. It's going to slowly bring, I mean, actually, I could say I think it's happening at hyper rate. It's going to bring honesty back into a dishonest world. It's going to bring culture into a societally debased world. Like it, as far as I can tell, the more and more I think about this, all roads lead to Bitcoin. It's epically exciting. I can barely believe it. Sometimes I'm like, dang, could someone pinch me? Like, I feel like I might wake up tomorrow back in my old nightmare of a life. Like this is borderline too good to be true. So yeah, that's a lot there. I'll type.
They want horns in the chat. Some multiple horns.
Damn, bro.
Killed it, Eric.
Woo!
Killed it.
Drop mic. Drop.
Yeah,
drop
that was
mic
great.
moment.
That was great, man. I think we could wrap the show up on that. That's just pure
Yeah, we
signal.
can wrap it up. Or no, I'm gonna pull it Opti. Eric, if you had some last words
there we go.
for our audience, what would they be?
Relax. Fucking calm down, everybody. Let's take a play out of Jeff Booth's playbook. If you yell and if you focus, energy goes where energy flows where attention goes. So if you're focused on the clown world and you're yelling at the clown world and you're tweeting about how fucked it is, and we all know it's fucked. Like, I don't live in some delusional state where I'm unaware of the atrocities that are taking place on planet Earth, but I don't want to continue to fuel it. I'm not putting attention into that. So I would say that I'm enthralled. Like, I'm not joking. I'm super grateful. I'm bursting at the seams with gratitude and joy and bliss as a result of this discovery. Satoshi changed everything. And so I like to focus at the new world, the new system. It's a new protocol. Jeff Booth, he's transitioned his entire life, all of his energy into the new world. And if you look at a guy like Jeff Booth, this guy is pure bliss, dude. He's not strengthening the old system. He's putting all his energy into the new system. And so there's a divide and conquer strategy by the sociopaths participating in their perpetual scumbaggery. They want us all fucked up against and like at each other's throats. Men versus women, this versus that, up, down, left, right, blue, red. It's craziness. We don't need to worry about that anymore. There is a new incentive structure that's changing the fabric of our reality, and it's fixing. So let's focus on that. Let's move into that. So if you have a problem with Clown World, I would suggest you stack some sats. If you're bummed about the fact that your grandparents got to buy a house for 3 or 4 years or 2.5 years worth of their annual salary. You know, you make 30 grand a year. The house is 90 G's. Well, now you make 50 G's a year and the house that you want's 500 grand. Well, start thinking about Bitcoin, focus on Bitcoin, measure the things that you want in Bitcoin. Your house is the house that you want in the future is going down if you denominate its value in Bitcoin. Everything is getting less expensive if you denominate its value in Bitcoin. Houses aren't going up in value. They're going down in value like cars. Like, why is it a 50-year-old house that's like shitty and needs new floors and it's got asbestos ceilings and the roof is leaking cost 10x what it did 50 years ago? It's because we're measuring the value of the house in a moving unit. You can't solve for that. Bitcoin solves for that. It's a fixed unit in a world that is full of nothing but variables. Everything is in flux except for Bitcoin. Measure what you want in Bitcoin. Focus on Bitcoin. Pay attention to Bitcoin. Put on your orange glasses. It's a bright motherfucking orange future. We have so much to be excited for. Let's stop strengthening the old world. Let's be excited about the new. It's here. It's not even like, it's going to make things better. It's making it better. It is better. It's happening in front of our faces, and it's something to be super grateful for. Yeah, it's done. We won. It's here. It's not going away.
Bars, absolute bars.
Damn, bro.
Hey, it's optimist field for a reason, and Eric just killed the rants.
Bro, you're nihilist fields compared to what Eric's dropping, bro. Jeez, Eric's got to come back on the show, man. I really, really enjoyed it. Dropping the fire, dropping the life experience, and kind of tying back in. And yes, we are in a bright orange future. We are in the Bitcoin future, but only if you're denominating your wealth in Bitcoin, only if you're on a Bitcoin standard, and most importantly, only if you're taking self-custody of that sweet, sweet Bitcoin that you have earned through your proof of work. That's how you start to benefit from this thing, and you feel it. You feel that optimism of living on a Bitcoin standard. Anyways, guys, that was Monday, March 11th episode.
Wait, Nico, let
Bitcoin Live.
Let Eric plug. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'll lead into that.
Yeah, so if you resonate with anything that I have had to say or my sheer optimism, which is genuine, this isn't a lie, like this is real as fuck. I make rants on Twitter. I start the camera. I go for 5 to 25 minutes just shredding on what I believe to be taking place in the world. My Twitter is Eric V Stacks. I don't know. I probably got like 50 to 70 videos there. And yeah, I'm going to El Salvador for the halving party. Shout out to the halving party guys. I can't even believe what they have put together. I'll be in Bitcoin or in Tennessee, Nashville. Looks like I might be in Prague and Oslo, Freedom Forum. I'm going to do some traveling. I mean, I'm all in on Bitcoin. I want to focus on the Bitcoin world. I want to participate in the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. And so follow me on Twitter, Eric V Stacks.
Amen.
Let's go. This is the way.
You guys want some more of Eric's epic rants? Go check him out on Twitter, Eric V Stacks, and he'll be at a lot of Bitcoin conferences that Simply will be at too as well. So I'm sure we'll cross paths again. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share Bitcoin content. That includes Simply Bitcoin. That includes Eric's content. That's how we have to take over the culture. The way that we do it is sharing Bitcoin art, sharing Bitcoin music, sharing Bitcoin. Just share the message. Spread the peace and love, man. We've already won. Calm down. Like Eric was just saying. Anyways, guys, we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Until then, love you all. Peace out, everybody.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.